What is going on, everybody? This is Windshield Hoops. I'm J.Wilder today alongside John Tortorelli, and he is a really up-and-coming podcast platform content creator. You can find him on Pick a Side. He has his own stuff on YouTube. How are you doing, John?
I'm doing solid. Thank you, boys, for having me on today to talk some volleyball.
And, of course, we got Zach Rudine on the pod. Him and I are pretty consistent on this together. And today we got a lot of stuff going on. We have a lot of March Madness talk. We have some MVP talk, Western Conference seeding race talk. And we're going to talk about some of the best young duels in the NBA. So should be in for a treat today. So to start out, as always, we're going to go transition right to stock risers of the week. Last week we had Jaden McDaniels and Jalen Williams. I believe Jaden McDaniels won. Is that correct, Zach?
That is very correct.
And then this week, we're going to announce our names. But, John, you want to start out?
I would love to. My stock riser of the week is Walker Kessler of the Utah Jazz. Last night versus the Boston Celtics, 8 offensive rebounds. You talk about second chance points. He generates a ton of them. And the Jazz's led the Utah's last 14 games, averaging 12 rebounds, 11.5 points, and 3 blocks. When Walker fills out into his frame, I think we're looking at Rudy Gobert 2.0 with even better hands offensively. And when I look at his defensive repertoire this early as a rookie, the more I watch him play, the more I see the rim protection, the flashes of him being a potential defensive player of the year down the line. I say, how do we not have this guy's lottery pick last year?
I thought we banned his name from the show.
Yeah, we banned it already. John, you have to make a different name.
I'm sorry, guys. I forgot.
Yeah, he's the only place he is shown anywhere in my life is like in some like poster in the background of therapy because they say you have to overcome some of your pains directly. So that's where we're at right now. And Zach, who's your guy?
All right, so we got Jabari Smith Jr. from the Houston Rockets. He's been really impressive over the last, week and a half, 2 weeks. He's a big reason why the Rockets are on a 3-game win streak right now. He's had over 20 points 3 times in the last 2 weeks. One of them was close to 20 as well. He had an 18-point game. But he's been really playing well for the Rockets. I think he's not going to be a 1 or 2 option for that team down the road, but I think he's going to be a third scoring option on a championship team if they can make that level while playing ruthless defense. And I'm a big fan of what he's, looked like more in the second half of the season.
I am happy that I didn't really sell any of my Jabari Smith stock because it was getting ugly for a while. And my opinion was pretty consistent on him going back to the draft. I didn't think he was in the tier of Paulo or Chet as a prospect, despite the buzz. I saw a lot of limitations in his game, but I always thought he had a really high floor on offense and a really high ceiling on defense. And I think we're starting to see that come together. He is definitely one of those guys. If you get him a really good point guard, he could be really dynamic as a complementary offensive piece. And we're starting to see that confidence come together. So I think my opinion is still very set on him being a really good, probably a tertiary or a 4th guy on offense. And I'm happy he's playing well.
He's going to get on the glass, too. 2.5 offensive rebounds as of late. So you see those chops along with a little bit of passing growth. He's just turning 20 next month, or 2 months from now. So this is kind of him scratching the surface, I feel like, once he's gotten this confidence and the feel back from beyond the arc.
He's a year younger than Paulo and Chet. So he was the youngest guy at the top of that draft. So that is also another element to consider. And those are good picks. My pick, I was struggling between 2 players, but I am going to do this because I think we already had the other player mentioned in the past. But I'm going to go James Wiseman here. James Wiseman of the Detroit Pistons. In his last 6 games, he's averaging 17.8 points per game, nearly 2 blocks a game. His offense efficiency is high. And Wiseman's always been a complicated case for me because his rookie year, massive negative on the court because he just wasn't processing anything on the defensive end or offensive end for that matter. But that's common for young players. But the problem was he was on a Warriors team where they didn't really have much room for error, even without Klay Thompson. So they weren't willing to go through those lumps, which made that pick extra questionable for me because they wanted this raw kid who played 3 games of college basketball to just come in and contribute right away. And that was never realistic. And then his injury in his second year set him back. So year 3, when a lot of those experience things were still very present, it looked like a disaster. And yeah, Wiseman wasn't ready yet, and he probably shouldn't have gone second overall because of that. He wasn't my number 2 prospect that year. But, like at the same time, like you got to let a kid like that grow up. And he didn't get that opportunity. And in Detroit, he still has some of those lumps, but we are seeing some of that offensive potential. He's automatic on the block, really good in transition, can hit a spot up jumper, and he looks more and more comfortable in the drop. And I think going forward, the Jalen Duren, James Wiseman dynamic is very interesting. We'll see how that goes. I can see a vision where Wiseman's playing the 4 on offense and 5 in defense, and Duren's playing 5 on offense, 4 on defense. I think there's a path there because they're so dang athletic, so they can play in a faster offense. But I'm happy to see Wiseman play well and show that there's still something there. And if Detroit can develop that, I think there's a path for him still being a very solid player, even if he doesn't end up being a top 5 player in that draft, which I think is the expectation when you're the second pick.
Yeah, and I mean, I've said it multiple times. I still don't understand that pick from the start for the Warriors. I mean, I mentioned multiple times as well that that team never needed an elite center to win championships. So from the start, it didn't really make sense for them to invest in a James Wiseman with that top 2 pick. And then, with that as well, it didn't really make sense for them to bring in this young guy that needed development. That was Rock coming in and only played, 3 college basketball games because he got suspended for 12 games and then just left to prep for the NBA draft. Like, it just didn't make sense from the start with that draft pick. And I mean, that held Wiseman back as well because, I mean, they were in a spot to play him at all. And he wasn't, like physically able to get better because he wasn't getting reps. But with the Pistons, a team that is clearly not going to try to win basketball games this year, it makes sense for him to play through those reps. And he's, not shockingly playing nice basketball because of that.
And now that he's been healthy too, he played 39 games his first 2 seasons. So just getting out to, like you guys said, not only the reps, but like the flow, knowing your teammates, having no pressure, it's lifted all the burns off of his back. And I'm one that's lower on Wiseman, but he's still just 22 years old. And so the more we get to see him with this young Piston scorer, the more we get to learn because he's still discovering himself as a player. And as fans, we're just starting to realize what he truly can be.
Is it funny with the NFL NBA connections between James Wiseman and Trey Lance? I've been thinking about that a lot because Trey Lance played 1 game of college his sophomore year and then just goes straight to being a top 3 pick on a team with contention expectations. Then he gets hurt. That's the exact same thing that happened to Wiseman. So I think Wiseman can still be a good player. I still think there's flaws definitely with I think the game, he overthinks the game, especially on defense. So he definitely makes some boneheaded mistakes because you could tell he's a really smart kid who thinks too much. And on offense, similar thing. Like he kind of runs straight at the rim, doesn't really look anywhere. So those are definitely flaws in his game, but he is a talented scorer, a talented athlete. And I just hope it works out well for him because he's likable. He's very likable. So, yeah, I hope he continues this 18-point per game stretch he's on.
Yeah, it's been
right.
fun to watch.
It's been very fun to watch. And now we can transition right away to our next topic, the MVP race. The MVP odds have gone up very much in Joel Embiid's favor. He's been just bonkers lately. Nikola Jokic is on a 4-game losing streak right now. I think he plays while we're recording this right now.
Yes.
Against Brooklyn, right? And we also have, Giannis, who's great, and other names. It's a very deep MVP race, but it feels like it's starting to narrow down. I just want to ask you guys, what's your opinion on the MVP race right now? Zach, I'll start with you.
I think in the last few weeks, it's definitely switched. I was, maybe a month ago, I was definitely like, yeah, Nikola Jokic, this guy should be probably going back to back to back as MVP. But I'm now on the Joel Embiid train. They officially have a better record than the Nuggets. I feel like that was kind of a big talking point. The Nuggets were the 1 seed in the West, and that's what was really helping Jokic's case. It seemed like, plus all those advanced analytics. But the Sixers, now they're not the one seed in the East, but they have a better record. They're a game better than the Nuggets. They've been absolutely thriving as of late. The Sixers have been a fun team to watch. Embiid's the leading scorer in basketball. And as you can see on Twitter lately and, social media, how much people are calling out Nikola Jokic on defense. I mean, we got to talk about the gap between them on defense as well in this conversation. Obviously, we don't talk about defense probably as much as we should when it comes to MVP, but I think it has to become a factor at some point. And that's what really pushes Embiid over the edge for me, because I'm comfortable with him being a defender compared to Jokic, who I think can be a real liability. I mean, when I've had my team like the Timberwolves play the Nuggets, I want to target him all game because I don't think he knows what he's doing on defense a lot of the time. But he's definitely the number 2 guy still. But I'm definitely leaning on Joel Embiid now, and I think he should win the MVP.
I can see where you're coming from, because Jokic defensively has been a train wreck. The last 6 games, they've lost 5 of them. They gave up what was 125 points to the Raptors. In the last 2 or 3 weeks, their defense has been fundamentally broken. Now, I think Jokic gets a bad rap defensively. He's just mailing it. He's focused in the playoffs. And for that reason, I think the race, like you said, Zach, is Joel Embiid's to lose. 33 points per game is ludicrous for a center. Last time we've seen a big man in back-to-back seasons.
Malone. Or no, 30 points.
Yeah, because Shaq never did it. Karl Malone didn't quite do it. So it's been 40 years since the last time we've seen it. And as you guys said, Philadelphia's second best record in the NBA. They're playing their best basketball. And the main reason Embiid does not have a MVP to his name is because of injuries. 2021, he has the knee injury. I'm not sure what it quite exactly was, but he missed 21 games. This year, he has played in 57. He's going to play upwards of 65, maybe. So if he can get close to 70, like 68, he's going to get the award here. The media's pushing it. He's deserving. But Giannis, man, he does not get enough credit, I think, in this race.
I got a question for y'all. Why does it feel like there's voter fatigue for Giannis, but for some reason there's this giant agenda toward Jokic? Like, it doesn't feel like there's voter fatigue for him, which is very interesting. I've never been like that attached to anybody, so I don't really understand the inconsistency there. But what do you guys think on that?
I think it's because every season, the MVP race is about narratives. In 2021, it was a 2-man race. We didn't really consider Giannis. Jokic played all 72 games, so he got the nod over Joel and missed 21. 2022, he takes an absolutely trash roster to 40-some-odd wins, 46. He gets them to the playoffs. That in and of itself was the most impressive feat any player pulled off in the regular season. I mean, that starting lineup was hideous, missing the second and third best teammates. This year, the narrative is Embiid has been snubbed 2 times, and this is the year that people finally get it right, understanding his greatness as a scorer, but also his two-way ability.
Yeah, I agree. I think he explained that pretty well.
And this might sound like a crazy take, but let's just erase just like resume and stuff like that. Like, if you were just a fan watching the NBA this year, I'm getting to the point where I think Joel Embiid is the most talented current player in the NBA right now. That might sound crazy because, yeah, Embiid's averaging 36 in his last 10 games, right? Crazy efficiency, 62.7% from the field, 45.5% from 3 in that stretch, averaging, like you said, nearly 34 a game, 10 boards, 4 assists, nearly 2 blocks. I think the impressive thing is Embiid is taking that leap offensively where it's almost like he's mastered scoring the basketball. He is shooting better than he ever has from the second and third level. Being that darn big and being that fluid with his space creation and his step backs and his being 7'2", 300 pounds, basically, moving like that doesn't make any darn sense. It's like he's a 7'2" James Harden. And then additionally, he is doing that while taking a step defensively. Like, I think Kraft NBA defensive plus minus is flawed, but he is 99th percentile on that, on the defensive end. Like, his defense when his offense was going up was trailing a little bit last year, I thought. This year, he has definitely taken a step back to being a legitimate rim deterrent, an anchor of a top-end defensive team without really an elite lockdown point of attack defender in his starting lineup. He is the anchor of a top 10 defense, top 6 on the right night. Without that. So we're talking about a guy who's just dominating offensively in ways nobody in the NBA is doing right now as a scorer, while being just an absolute deterrent on the defensive end with an all-defensive case when the center position is starting to return to form in terms of defensive depth at the center position. I think Joel Embiid right now, like, while I don't think he's the best player in the world, I think he is the most dangerous right now in terms of what he can do, that skill set, because nobody in the NBA has that size, that 3-level scoring ability, and defensive deterrence. What he is doing is unbelievable, and he is the MVP this year because of what you guys mentioned. Jokic, I think he's been amazing this year, averaging a triple-double. His defense, you could say he's been given a bad rep, but defenses are finally saying, you know what? We're going to attack the guy. So Giannis deserves more credit in the MVP race. I just think Embiid's been flat out better, though. So I don't think there's anybody in the NBA playing better basketball than Joel Embiid.
Could you make the case, is Joel Embiid the most valuable defensive player to his team?
Probably.
You can make that case because Brook Lopez and Giannis have each other. Evan Mobley's, I think, the one that comes to mind. Evan Mobley and Jaren Jackson Jr. Because JJJ, when Memphis isn't healthy, they're a bottom 5 defense. And when Evan Mobley, whether it's like Jared Allen playing or not, the defense is still like best in the league. So those are the other 2 guys I would consider. And I think Mobley and JJJ are still slightly better defenders. So.
Yeah, because the Sixers, they got like Melton, who's a really solid point attack defender, but he's not like great at that. And I just don't know, they don't have too many great defenders on Philly. They're a bottom 10 defensive team, I think, right now. But yeah, he's definitely, top 3, top 5 in that conversation, I'd say. Not saying he's, top 5 defender in basketball, but, value wise for his own team, he's probably in that conversation.
You know what? I think he is, because they funnel everything to him at the rim. And given their lack of defensive talent, it's mediocre. They're top 10 in opponent points per game and defensive rating. And you keep in mind that Jaren Jackson's injury prone, plays 27 minutes per game, whereas Embiid is at 35, 8 more per game. So you combine his dominance as a rim protector, sure he's not getting the shot blocking totals, but with the fact that he's closing every single night, and I think I give him that edge over Jaren, Evan, and Bam as well.
Yeah, it's a close conversation. I just watched Memphis to start the year without Jaren Jackson Jr. Look like an absolute mess on the defensive end. And then he's come back, and now all of a sudden it's like a lid's back on the rim. But you can also argue there's more personnel there. You got Steven Adams next to him. You got Dylan Brooks next to him, even though Steven Adams has missed time. And you have better personnel there. And Cleveland's the other close one because they do have 2 6-foot guards in the perimeter. So that's a problem. And Jared Allen's played 62 games, but he's played banged up. He's missed some time. So if I had to give up the defensive player of the year right now, it's probably Evan Mobley and then Brook Lopez, and then you go after that. But Embiid, like I said, the fact that he is this dominant on offense, but still this much of a problem on defense, I don't think anybody in the NBA is doing what he's doing right now.
I feel like Embiid's kind of if Kevin Durant was more likable. A 7-foot wing that weighs 280 some odd pounds, protects the rim at an even better level. I mean, you talked about before, is Joel Embiid the most skilled player in the NBA? I'm giving that to Steph Curry. But after Steph, I think he's got the next best case. As a playmaker, it's Jokic, but as a scorer, his touch, his fluidity, his athleticism as well, given he's 280 pounds, that's unrivaled. And given this kid, Joel started playing basketball as a kid at 16 years old, it speaks to the idea he's still getting better and better in his 6th season. And I think it's really just going to come down to him closing out the year healthy. If he plays the majority of these next 10, 11 games, the award is his. It quite simply will be based off of narratives.
We have never seen a player like Joel Embiid before. It's that simple. We've never seen it before. Like you can say like if Hakeem like developed in this modern NBA, like that would probably be pretty similar. Like you can make a case like stuff like that, but just being that big and that skilled and that fluid, I think that's the amazing thing, especially with all the injuries he had when he was young. The fact that he's maintained that fluidity, it's a joke how talented of an athlete he is. It just the natural touch. Like we'll see. Like it's unique stuff. It's really unique stuff. And so are we all on the same page that Embiid's the MVP?
Yeah,
Please
but
go.
this might be the closest MVP race even still. What do you say?
Yeah, I agree.
It's very close.
A bad week can change things. Look at Jokic.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So, next topic. All right. So, now we're doing the best young duos in the NBA under 25, 25 and under, or under 25, under 25. So, that takes out some guys like De'Aaron Fox and Jaylen Brown and guys like that who've been prominent in this conversation for quite some time. So, guys, I haven't given like a specific number of like it has to be 5 guys or 10 guys. It doesn't really matter to me. Just give out some of the best young duos in the NBA that come to mind, some that you believe can become pretty special in the coming years. John, you want to start out?
I can kick it off. So I would be doing you guys a disservice if I didn't start off with Jaden McDaniels and Anthony Edwards. Now, Edwards recently had his ankle injury. He's out of the walking boot already. He seems like he'll be day-to-day. That's amazing news. But Jaden McDaniels very easily can become an all-star with his defensive repertoire and his offensive growth. Some of the other options, Paulo Banchero and Franz Wagner, Jalen Williams and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Walker Kessler and Lauri Markkanen.
Is Lauri 24?
I think so.
How old is Lauri?
I'm pretty sure it's 24. I think I looked that up.
Might be 25. He's in that
25.
mix. He's within a year of Luka. I know that. And then I've got Darius Garland with Evan Mobley. There's one last duo in there I feel like I'm forgetting. And that would be Ja Morant and Jaren Jackson Jr. So that's the 6 for me. We could rank them however you guys would like. I just want to kind of round out the fields that people know what we got.
Yeah, I got I mentioned all of mine in my top 5 here that you just listed. I had Banchero and Wagner number 1. I don't know how many other people would have that. And I'll probably I have a question for you guys after the segment about the Magic score. But I think those two dudes legitimately could be all-stars next year. Depends. I'm looking for Banchero's. He's definitely improved. I think he's out of that colder stretch that he was on before. Looking for him to continue, high play throughout the rest of the season. Obviously, you have Morant and Jaren Jackson Jr. Both those guys were all stars this year. Chet Holmgren, he hasn't played this year. I was considering, Jalen Williams potentially over Chet, but I think Chet is going to be the better player. We'll see what happens in that. And then Jaden and obviously I could talk about those guys forever. Mobley, Garland. There's some weirder ones in here that I could mention. They're mainly one-man tandems with Luka Doncic and Josh Green.
I was thinking the same thing.
And then you got Zion Williamson and you could put Murphy there. But yeah, mainly with Luka. Josh Green just pulls him down so far, right? Like we can all agree that Luka could be the best, 25 and under player in basketball, obviously. But Josh Green just brings that duo so far down. And then you got some of the, lower tier ones like Cade and Ivy, and then, Jalen Green and Jabari Smith Jr.
Yeah, you guys. Oh, I was going to say
Halliburton,
that.
Mathurin,
That's the one everybody is missing. Tyrese Halliburton and Benedict Mathurin.
Yeah, that was my
That's
6.
another one people are missing. Yeah, I think it's a lot of parity because a lot of it's unknown. Like Cade and Ivy is still pretty unknown because we haven't seen them play together much yet. Like I really like Cunningham. I've been pretty consistent with Cunningham's be really, really good. Does he have quite the pop to be great? I'm still TBD on that. And Ivy's really good. Also, I think Jalen Duren has as much of a case as Ivy as the second guy in that core. I think Duren he's an absolute menace on the glass and in the interior, and he switches everywhere on defense. Duren's impressive. He's really impressive. That's a future top 10 center there. He's really good. And yeah, I think you guys mentioned it. I don't know who I think I'd rank Paulo and Franz 1 as well, because I'm getting two things. One, I'm getting two physically reliable players who are 6'10", who are built, who can create an own shot, who are connective playmakers. I think Paulo is honestly an underrated defender right now. Like, his defensive interior metrics are very favorable for him right now. Franz Wagner, I've always been higher on Franz after his rookie season. He is such a special driver, and his timing, his patience, his touch, it's so hard to time. And I think there's so much to build there for him. I think he's going to be like an 8 free throw game player down the road because you just can't time him. So he's going to draw a lot of fouls as he gets older. That's a great one. I think that I'm loading up because I made a post like this a while back. I think Jaren Jackson Jr. is a very good duo. I would have them a little lower, probably around that 3 to 5 range, because I questioned Jaren Jackson Jr.'s health, and I just questioned John Morant for John Morant. So I questioned that a little bit, but they're both dynamic jaws, basically, when healthy. Allen Iverson 2.0, and Jaren Jackson Jr. just alters everything. And do you hear my dog snoring in the background?
He's sleeping, I think.
Very
On one
slightly.
duo you forgot to mention.
Stop snoring. I just noticed. Did you guys hear it?
Yeah, he's
Very
sleeping.
slightly.
One of the duos you're not mentioning yet.
My fault. Bulldogs are obnoxious. But back to my mojo. Darius Garland and Evan Mobley, that duo is definitely raising stock for me, because Evan Mobley, guys, he's a top 40 player right now in his second year. He's legit top 40. And I think he's a defensive player of the year. I think I'm in the exception on that for most people. I think he's the defensive player of the year. And Darius Garland's also awesome. The only problem is I don't see a 1A player in either player. That's the only thing that holds him back a little bit on this ranking. Thank you so much for mentioning Anthony Edwards and Jaden McDaniels, because people on Twitter are still getting mixed up with Jaden and Jalen, and I think that's going to be hilarious in 3 years, because Jaden is special. He's already the best wing defender in the league, and his offensive tools are way better than people think. So he's going to be really good. I think I'll probably put Ant and Jaden top 4 for sure. And then Tyrese and Benedict Mathurin are unbelievable. I think Mathurin is a horror defender, and that's something that freaks me out with him. Like, he was a horror defender in college. He's a horror defender year one. But he's very intense, so I think he can work on that defense with Rick Carlisle. So I'm not too worried on his defense. So let me rank these guys. Okay, I'm going to rank them.
All right.
I'll put Paulo and Franz number 1. That might sound crazy. I'm putting them 1. It's really close. Really close. Paulo Franz number 1. Number 2, I'm going to go SGA and Chet. That might sound bizarre because Chet hasn't played a game, but I think SGA is flipping special, and I think Chet Holmgren was in the same tier as Paulo as a prospect, and I think he's going to be ready to contribute right away because he's mentally ready for the NBA, because the game isn't too slow for him, and he's got the skill, and while he is skinny, he's like a spider where he can slither through screens, and he doesn't let you get your body into him. He's so good at recovery with his length. I'm going to go them 2. I'm going to go Ant and McDaniels 3, because I think Ant's number 1, and I think Jaden McDaniels is going to be the best wing defender in the game, and I think he's going to average 20 someday. That's pretty valuable. And 3, I'm going to go Garland Mobley. I'm going to put Ja and JJJ 4. If they were more reliable, if Ja was more reliable, they would probably be 2. And then I would go. Who's 5?
We got Laurie and Kessler.
Laurie's 25.
So we're not counting him?
No.
He's turning 26 this year.
Yeah, he's 25. I mentioned Garland Mobley 4, right? Or 2. There were 2 for me, right? So I'm going to go Mathurin and Hallie 5.
Actually, I think you had
Shea and Chet 2. And then
Shea
you
and Chet
said
2, Ant McDaniels 3, John JJJ 4.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go Mathurin and Hallie 5. That would be my top 5 right now.
Cleveland.
Huh?
You're taking them over Cleveland.
Oh, I forgot them.
Yeah.
If they're not 2,
Okay,
that means they're on the board at 5.
Oh, shoot. I got to write this stuff down, man. Okay.
He's mixing
Let me do
himself
this.
up.
I'm just making stuff up. Franz and Paulo is 1.
Yep.
SGA, Chet 2. Ant, Jaden 3.
Yep.
Did I not have Mobley now? Garland 4?
You
I had
did,
Ja,
but
I'm going to go Mobley, Garland 4. And then Ja, JJ 5. JJJ and Ja would be top 2 if I trusted Ja. I'll tell you that. And then Hallie and Matherin 6. There's my top 6.
Okay, so I've got mine ranked. You guys both took Orlando's duo number 1. I'm a partial Magic fan, and I'm still going with the Grizzlies number 1. Ja Morant and Jaren Jackson Jr. are the foundation of arguably the best, not the best young trio because Cleveland exists, but I think there's a real case that everybody's overlooking, and it's that the Grizzlies are going to the finals this season. Doesn't sound like the perfect time to be saying that, but they've just won 5 of their last 6 games without Ja Morant. You talk about the defensive tools that Jaren brings. Offensively, he's got his confidence and his touchback from beyond the three-point line. Last 3 games, 25 points or more. The shot blocking's still there. You pair that up with the playoff superstar in Ja Morant, I'm going to have them at number 1. I know exactly what I'm getting, but they're still 24 years old, respectively. Number 2, this is where it gets super close or splitting hairs. I mean, same thing goes number 1. I'm going to go Apollo and Franz. I loved what you said before. The physicality, the tone that they set. Franz is an elite level driver. Paulo is an elite level athlete and prospect in and of itself. He definitely needs to develop the three-point shooting and the mid-range game, though. Number 3, I've got Darius Garland, and how else could I say it? But Evan Mobley's arguably defensive player of the year in year 2. He's going to go right next to Darius. So that's my number 3. Number 4, I've got SGA and J-Dub. Haven't seen Chet play yet, and I think this might be a hot take. Jalen Williams might have a higher ceiling than Chet. I looked at Chet coming to the draft as one of the safest players, not from a durability component.
I love Chet's upside. I love his upside.
More so from his defensive tools. I think Jalen Williams, though, as a self-creator, a playmaker, with his shooting growth, could be even better a perimeter player, an even better self-creator, a better initiator. And so that's why I think there may be more upside with him, though he's a year or 2 older. The last one for me would be Anthony Edwards and Jaden McDaniels. One other duo I thought about, and technically since Bam's 25, you want to count, was Bam and Tyler Hero. And what was the other one? Oh, Jalen Green, Alperen Sengun. But if they get a head coach and a point guard next to them, I think next season, Jalen Green and Alperen can take those 30-year steps. And if they do, the Houston Rockets are going to have themselves something special right there offensively.
Yeah, and then mine, I do have the Magic's duo 1. I have the Grizzlies duo 2, Thunder 3, Wolves 4, Cavs 5. I could maybe have the Wolves higher based off my belief that in 5 years, I don't think anyone on this list is better than Ant. I guess I like Jaden a lot. I'm high on Jaden. I'm just not as high on Jaden as James, I guess. Even though I'm super high on him as well. And I think he can be an all-star in 5 years. But yeah, I think this, it's so close 1 through 5 here. I think you can make
so close.
Yeah. Like, I don't think we should,
court.
yeah, like we shouldn't put too much weight into who's above who, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
It's just kind of like, we're just kind of nitpicking at that point. And it's so close between all of these guys. Like, I think you can make a legit argument for basically any one of these cores.
Yeah, I'll say this. I think I'm being a little too mean to John, Jaren Jackson. I'm going to put them at 4. Here's the thing, guys. I'm talking about okay, these guys are for 10 years. This is generality. I question both Jaren Jackson Jr. and Ja's health. I question Ja. Is he going to be playing consistently? I genuinely question that. I am one of those people who don't really buy much into the apology with Jalen Rose because it felt a little scripted. I'm just going to put it out there. It felt rehearsed. So I don't know what he's learned because the suspension was kind of a slap on the wrist. So I don't trust that yet. And plus, I don't know if you guys saw his Instagram when he was 13. He said some pretty messed up stuff on there. So this is not new. So I'm just going to say that. But they're both tremendous. And like I said, if these two if I trusted Ja more, he would be number 2 minimum. So that just going into I question the stability element. That's just me. If I'm wrong, I'll own it top of my chest. But
Don't you think the Grizzlies, though, are one of those organizations that can keep things in-house? They've already talked about leaving cities the night of the game, not the following morning, where they can help mature Ja as he ages and learns of some of these experiences.
yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I'm just saying we'll see. But like I said, 1 to 5 was really close. So like that little element, like if you ask me what my Ja level of concern is, I would say moderate. I don't think it's major. I think it's moderate. I don't think it's small. I don't think it's major. But that's enough for me to slip it down 2 spots because I really like talent here. So that's where I'm at with it. And I think I watched Chet in high school, man. I watched Chet in high school. And I'm telling you, man, I think it's like Cat in Kentucky with Gonzaga, where nobody knew Cat had those tools coming into the NBA because like he didn't get to show it at Kentucky. I think Gonzaga is a very similar situation. And I think over time, we're going to see that he is a legit perimeter space creator who's got excellent touch, who finishes through contact, unlike many players at that size. Like his finishing is going to translate in the NBA, I think. I think Chet's a really special player. So maybe like I have him too high because of the injury with Chet. That's still very valid. So, like I said, I kind of don't like my own list because I like the top 5 a lot. So like, but yeah, I think the top 5 is really close. I think Hallie and Matherin are pretty set at 6, but then the top 5 you can kind of interchange. So it's a really good talented group.
It depends on what you value.
Yeah, that's true.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right, I got a question for you guys. So we're pretty all set on, that Magic duo being a consensus top 2 young duo in basketball right now. And in 2 months, if that team, which they have the 5th best odds to do right now, if they win the lottery and they land Victor Wembanyama, is that going to be a dynasty?
The right coaching, yeah.
I would say no, because a dynasty, you have to see it before you can believe it. And with Paulo and Franz, you put next to them the greatest prospect since LeBron, I say, hell yeah, they could be a dynasty. But then you look at all the teams who have accumulated all the draft picks and all the young players. We said in 2018 when the Celtics had the pick that became Colin Sexton, hell, that's going to be the first overall selection. And they're going to go pair up Jason Tatum, who's got a Rookie of the Year case, and Jaylen Brown, who's taken the sophomore year loop with Michael Porter Jr. And now these Celtics are about to take flight and really be the team to beat the next 10 years. Now, the Celtics have become perennial contenders, but only one team can win a championship. And so I would just say no. But Victor with that duo, I mean, it would put Orlando in the position to finally get one. You'd have to. It'd have to reverse the curse. If you get the first overall pick in back-to-back years, I think it could be the one they finally get the title.
Yeah, I mean, just the like they'd have, Paulo and Franz who are both 6'10", 6'11" forwards. Then you bring in this 7'4" kid who's probably going to play power forward there. I don't know, when he plays. I don't know what position exactly he'll play. He could play center, but I'd probably prefer him as a power forward. And they have some other talent on the roster as well. But I think that team wins multiple rings. Like I'm very high in Victor, like most people are. And then, I mean, I'm super high in Banchero and Wagner as well. I have them as the best young duo in basketball. So I think that team has the best chance out of any other team to become a dynasty.
Yeah, I'm consistent with this. I've never seen anything like Victor, not only in terms of talent, but you read about him. He checks all the work ethic, mental, competitive stuff you could ever want. And I'm one of those people. I'm not a doctor. I'll never pretend to be. I'll just read what I hear, right? So I'll see what I read. Probably makes more sense. But Victor, 16 years old, he's been with some of the best doctors and trainers, people who are literally scientifically like making sure his body's good. He only eats organic stuff. He sleeps 9 hours a day, right? He is not, in a college cafeteria eating Cheetos and burgers. Like he is doing all the things you could ever want. And I think if you ask me who I think is going to be the best player in the world in 6 years, I think it's going to be Victor. If you just ask me for gut to gut, because I think he checks the most boxes out of all of those guys. Might sound crazy. He's not even in the league yet, but he's that special. So if you pair him up with who's already my best duo in the world, I would have a
I think you're muted.
Come on, computer. I would love that duel, and I would hate it to compete against. But I'm trying to break down my own list, man, because I don't even like my own list. Because
It depends on what you value, James. Because if you value the best player of the pack, I mean, hell, Luka and Josh Green are number one. But if you want the one that complements each other the finest, you might go with Darius and Evan Mobley. And if you're shooting for upside, you're probably going Orlando number one.
I think reliability is just a really important thing. That's what I value in my list, which is weird me having Chet too. That's why I don't like it. But I think Chet's really good, and stuff I've read, like that injury he had last year was a freak play that had nothing to do with his frame. And I've read some doctors write about Chet's body, why they're not concerned about his body. So I don't think Chet's body is as big of a problem as people think, even though obviously that was a very unfortunate storm. So I'm going to keep him too, because I honestly think Chet and SGA have a chance to be top 12 players both. And talent matters. Ant and Jaden, I think Ant's one. I think Jaden's either a low 2 or a high 3. And I think that's a physically reliable pairing, and that matters a lot to me. And then I think Ja and JJJ, I think Ja could be a 1. I'm scared of Ja a little bit. That might be fair, unfair. I'm moderately scared. So that's why they're a little lower for me at 4. And then I think Mobley and Garland. The only thing is I think Mobley's a 1B and I think Garland's a 2. So that's the only reason why they're not that much higher, because I think you need to be a 1A to be in the top 3 or have the potential to be.
That's reasonable. So real quick, I kind of have 2 questions. I have too many. What will Chet Holmgren be? Top 10 player, just pure projection based off what you believe in 3 or 4 years. Maybe just at his peak. Let's keep it that way. Peak Chet Holmgren, what does he become?
Chet at his peak is the second best big after Giannis's prime. After Giannis is done, I think Chet's top 3, top 2 big. Dude, I'm telling you, man, his offensive ceiling is really high. I know, like in college, it was a lot of like connective stuff, sort of like what Mobley did at USC. But dude, he's got a handle, he's got a bag, he can separate with space, he's got excellent touch, and he finishes through contact so effortlessly. And he does that while being just an absolute deterrent who has very unique mental wiring. He can be really, really good. And that's why I think SGA and Chet have the highest like ceiling of this top 5. Because I think SGA is really darn special. Sorry, PG, my fault. And I think Chet has a chance to be amazing. So I think they have a chance to be great. Utah or OKC with also J-Dub and Josh Giddey. They got a ridiculous core brewing there.
He's going to clean up so much defensively. They're already one of the better units in the league. I think it's fascinating. My comparison for Chet's Evan, but he's a better finisher and a better 3-point shooter. So we're going to see next season.
More polished handle too. But a little less switchable. A little less switchable than Mobley.
Yeah, but
Mobley, that's what makes it special.
Less switchable. I remember Jalen Williams dropping multiple times last year in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, he's not as mobile as Mobley in the perimeter. Mobile Mobley. That's a good nickname for him. And yeah, but Chet's skill is just next level compared to Evan at the same stage. It's not really that close. So
yeah, and he didn't really like in college, there was moments where he would maybe get beat a little bit because of his size, but overall, he finished around the basket super well, and he was amazing guarding in the post. He was a super good rim deterrent. So that wasn't that big of a problem in college, and in the NCAA tournament, it wasn't that much of a problem. He saw a little bit of struggles against Jalen Duren when they matched up, but he won that matchup. I think, I think they went back and forth a little bit. But yeah, I think he's definitely an all-star type. And then you got Shea, who's going to be an all-NBA guy probably for a while now. So yeah, I think you got 2 all-stars there as well.
I think if Sabonis is all-NBA this year, I think Chet could definitely be all-NBA.
Yeah, no doubt. The other question I had, among the top young duos in the NBA, which would be the biggest riser between this year and a year from
now? Relative to your own list or consensus?
Relative to where we view them currently. I've got one.
Ja and Jaren Jackson Jr. for sure, because if Ja proves this is just a little bad phase for him, then I think they're back in the top 3.
Yeah, it's That's a good one. And then you could maybe say like on the lower end, like not really guys that we talked about that much, but Cade hasn't played at all. Like he's played like a little bit this year, but he's been out like basically the whole year. And then Cade and whoever else you want to put next to him. I mean, they could land a top 3 pick and then maybe it's like Brandon Miller next to Cade we're talking about. But, either if, Jalen Duren or Ivy have a really big year too as well, and then Cade has a good, year next year, then I could see those guys rising up a lot if, Cade can show that the injury maybe didn't impact him as much as some would think.
The answer is whoever lands Victor. That's the answer.
That is true.
That's a phenomenal answer. And if that's Detroit, Victor and Cade would sound so sweet. Mine is going to be
one.
Mine by far is Trae Young and Onyeka Okongwu. Now, technically, it'd be DeJounte, but the reason why I say that is that Onyeka in those last couple of games with Quinn Snyder has gotten more minutes. He's played better. His foul issues have went down. And really, Quinn Snyder makes this Atlanta offense elite. If he can maximize Trae Young and the players around him, things get pretty interesting, I think, in the Eastern Conference. And Trae Young might be a little bit underrated right now.
I agree. What about you, Zach?
Well, I gave that the Cade one, and maybe you could throw in.
Okay. That was your answer. Okay.
Yeah, maybe you could throw in like LaMelo and Mark Williams, but I don't know. They don't really got somebody else next to LaMelo right now.
I mean, I'm looking at the top of this draft. Let's say Pistons land number 1, Cade, Victor. Is that automatically top 3? And then
yeah.
And then San Antonio, Devin Vassell and Victor. That's close to top 5.
It's definitely top 6, like in the mix of Ant and J-Mac. I don't know if he'd be above them though, because Devin Vassell to me might just be a third, like a really good tertiary, like a baby Chris Middleton. And they don't have the point guard or the playmaker still. So that's why I'd be lowering them.
And then who's Houston, Jalen Green, Victor. And then
probably goes up
Charlotte, LaMelo Ball, Victor. And like there's a lot of like possibilities. Whoever lands Victor at the top of the draft, even if it's not like a random team, there could be a very random team. Like Halliburton and Victor could be a thing. Like
that'd be sick.
I mean, Hallie and Victor could be number 1.
That would be number 1.
Just send Victor to the East.
The answer to this is whoever lands Victor, and then the relatives speak. Like for where we're at right now, John, Jaren Jackson Jr. were 2 for me 3 months ago. So it really it's such a fluid list. Like it can change a lot. It can really change a lot. So like I heard you guys on Pick a Side. Like what if it's some crazy world? Jaden McDaniels took a year 4 Jaylen Brown leap, and Ant takes a 27 point per game leap. Like there's a lot of possibilities here. And then maybe Mobley proves he is an alpha in offense. So, all right. That was a fun topic. I think that is like the biggest crapshoot one because it shows what you value. Personally, for me, stability and reliability matter the most. And now let's talk about the Western Conference seeding race because, guys, it's a mess. Everybody's losing at the same time right now. Everybody's losing. Golden State's losing. Minnesota's losing. OKC's trending up. Portland fell out. Utah's losing, even though they beat Boston yesterday because Boston looks like a mess right now. Like, lots going on. What is your take on it? John, you start.
It's the rat race. That's my take on it. You talk about dysfunction. The Mavericks have an incomplete roster. The Warriors are missing 3 of their best defenders, and Andrew Wiggins singularly is the key ingredient that we don't know if they'll have him. I'm praying for him, hoping he gets back on the court soon.
Yeah.
But seeing the Warriors be 29-7 at home, but 7-29 on the road, a top 5 defense at home, and a bottom 1 defense on the road, to me, is still ludicrous. Even if it's the champions not being able to get up for games, I don't know how that's possible with Steph Curry, who has missed a good amount of time.
Unreal.
Then we've got the Timberwolves, 35-37, beaten and battered by injuries, but still hanging alive by a thread, and the young core that they still have got. Number 9, we've got Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and the Thunder. Mark Dagnall might be a Coach of the Year pick if they get into the playoffs because the job he has done this year without Chet Holmgren has been nothing short of remarkable. The last team in that mix is not the Lakers, the Pelicans, who were the number 1 seed 2 months ago, or even the Portland Trailblazers, It is the Utah Jazz. 5 of their last 10 games they have won. For some strange reason, they're still in this race. What I think of it, James, is that all of these teams will get bounced out pretty quickly in the first round of the playoffs. It doesn't really matter that much. But I do think the team that has the most to lose here is the Los Angeles Lakers. Why? Because they have LeBron James in his twilight years, nearing that point, and they might not even get into the playoffs if they don't turn this around quickly. Yesterday, a report came out that LeBron apparently is not close to returning from this foot injury. And at his age, it takes longer to recover. He's not Superman anymore. So look at this Lakers team, fellas. They've got to get something, and a lot of something consistently. If they do not make the playoffs this year, given they have a pick swap to the Pelicans, man, there's no team more pressure, I feel like, in the playing race currently.
Yeah, you got, obviously I'm a big Timberwolves fan. I think they're probably going to dip below the 8th spot for just a really quick period because I don't think Ant's going to be back tomorrow for that next game. And I think we're going to probably lose that. But I think we'll eventually climb our way back up. I think Towns and Edwards are on the verge of returning, both probably within the next 3-ish games. And I think with that, they'll go on a run to end the season to become a top, 7 seed again. So I'm not as concerned as a lot of Wolves fans, which sounds weird because I spend so much time just thinking about the team and work on Instagram about the team. But I'm not really that concerned about where this team will end. I think it's still possible they could be a top 6 seed in the West. I think I think they're really going to rally once Cat and Edwards return. But yeah, the Thunder are I'm a big fan of what this team has done this year, and I hope they continue to try to push the playoffs. There was a report recently, like 2 weeks ago, maybe that they were to start to manage Shay's minutes and, maybe push the tank again. I don't think that makes that much sense to me. I think you can still land get good lottery odds, with being a 9 or 10 spot in the West. And this team doesn't really need, a top 3 pick. It'd be great if they got one, but they don't need it. I think they could be perfectly fine with, like a 7 or 8 pick. And then, getting somebody like, Drace Walker, or maybe they get 10. You can get somebody like I've seen Taylor Hendricks would be a really good fit with that nice Thunder squad. Yeah. I think he could be not to the same extent, but some level of their Jaden McDaniels type. But yeah, it's such a crapshoot. What it is right now, everything could just flip in the next 2 days. Even tonight, it could flip like crazy. Yeah, but every day it's changing, and it's so weird. It's fun to watch though.
What a mid-off. Mid-off. That's what it is. It's a mid-off. This Western Conference is a disaster. I think my team's a disaster. Then I look at everybody else, and they're all equally disasters. Honestly, I don't know what to expect, right? Minnesota this year has absolutely sucked. It's been the worst year of my Timberwolves fandom. Not because I'm not high on what we have. It's that I don't know. I genuinely don't know. We haven't seen anything. We genuinely haven't seen anything. So I have no clue what to feel, And additionally, the Ant injury was the last straw. I was of course, right? So this year sucked. It feels like every swing, it's been a curveball every single way. It feels like this Timberwolves lane hasn't had road construction in 600 years. It's just so bumpy. It sucks. But we'll see. Ant's weird. If I had to guess, he's back tomorrow because that's just kind of what his history suggests. He quickly bounces back. Cat, we'll see. He's already complaining about the staff passive aggressively on Twitter, and he wants to be back on the court. He tweeted something about him just begging to be cleared to play because he's ready. And additionally, they're weird. I don't think it's their year. I think they need meshing time. And then the Lakers. The funny thing about the Lakers is LeBron, I think the Lakers, people don't understand, it looks great for a week because D'Lo and Beasley are the definition of players who look great for a week and then awful for a week. That's just who they are as players, and I think Laker fans are finally learning that. Instead of saying, I'll keep D'Lo over Kyrie and nonsense like that. They're learning that about D'Lo right now, and then they're weird. LeBron's health is different, and AD isn't very reliable either for a top 15 player. The Dallas Mavericks have an awful roster surrounded by 2 one-way high-maintenance players. Not a great formula. Utah's just kind of in this for some reason, even though they don't really want to be in it. They're just like, we're trying to tank by accident, but you guys are all such dysfunctional messes. It's impossible.
They opened the wrong door.
Like it's just like, dude, just figure it out already, Dallas. But nobody can figure it out. It's just a generational mid-off of dysfunction from every single team. The Blazers are out of it. I remember for start of the year, they started strong. I got trolled for having them as the 11th seed, and I totally understand. They're not the 11th seed, they're the 13th seed. My bad. And mid-off, I'm telling you. Like, I don't know what to expect. I think the Lakers and Minnesota probably have the highest ceilings of this mid-off because they'll have stars back eventually. But other than that, it's just I don't feel great about any team this year. Like, I think Minnesota and Lakers could be good next year because they're really talented. They just don't have a lot of time together, and that's a problem. So I think whoever gets into the playoffs, not much is going to happen. Maybe if you get matched up with the right team. Sacramento's fun. Don't really buy into them that much still. And AC on 60. I'm kidding. I love Sacramento. I'm happy for their fans. But yeah, we'll see. It's a giant mid-off. I think whoever goes in the first round of the playoffs will lose unless they play, maybe Memphis still has drama. Probably not. Let's see if Sacramento's defense translates in the playoffs. But yeah, it's a giant mid-off.
How's it translate in the regular season?
No, Domantas Sabonis, second worst rim protecting center in the league right now, starting. So
who's worse?
I mean, they have the 29th ranked paint defense right now.
I'd love to know what team is ranked 30th.
Jokic might be worse, but I think Jokic is better than Sabonis.
Probably Şengün and the Rockets is my guess.
Şengün, there you go. That's a better one.
Yeah, it can't be Denver. Now, I want to say this. The Western Conference is a rat race, 6th through 12th. If I'm the Trailblazers, my season is over. If I'm the Pelicans, my season is over. And if I'm the Jazz, my season never started. It was just a year that was fun and pretty competitive. Those three teams should be tanking. If I'm the Thunder, I want to win and get some playoff experience for Shaq, finally. And he hasn't gotten it since his second season in the league. Mm-hmm. After that, Lakers, got to get some continuity. Timberwolves, go against the play-in race. But if I'm those three other teams, I don't belong there. Let me pivot to the lottery, get myself a Cam Whitmore, some top prospect that can really raise my ceiling next season, or at least give me some trade assets long-term. And I agree with what you said. Next year is the year for the Minnesota Timberwolves, if they can stay healthy. And the same applies to the Lakers. But this year, those two teams are maybe into the playoffs or maybe get knocked out in the first rounds. Yeah. I think the only team in the play-in that has a real chance of making it to the conference finals is the Warriors. And even then, if Andrew Wiggins is not back by the playoffs, they're a first-round exit tail.
I hope he's okay, man. I've heard, I'm never going to buy into rumors, so I'm not going to take any accountability in anything that's been said yet. But
I hate the speculation.
His girlfriend denied them, I think.
Like that, man. Especially if it's not true. I don't want to talk about it because it's just wrong. And yeah, the West is just, like I said, I'm going to keep saying it. Giant mid-off. You talked about it. Utah is only in it because, one, Lauri Markkanen's awesome. Walker Kessler is really good. And they have some Taylor Horton-Tucker's taken a pretty decent step lately. They have those things going for them. But they're trying to lose. Look at their deadline. They're trying to lose. But everybody else is such a mess. They're still in it because of that. And it's not good. Dallas is probably the most worrisome situation among those teams because if they lose Kyrie this summer, oh my gosh.
You lost Kyrie and two rotation players.
I would fully expect if Kyrie leaves, I think within 4 months, Luka's requesting for a trade. That's such a horrible situation. I can't imagine the trade package he'd get, but think about how horrible that would be. They don't have a lot of cap space to really go out and get somebody to market. I don't really know who would want to come to Dallas because, we saw and I know James has talked about this in the past on how it's, it might be a little harder to win around somebody that's, so ball dominant as Doncic is compared to somebody back, with Harden and what he did with the Rockets.
Who doesn't defend? That's always been my thing.
Yeah.
And you know what?
Yeah. I don't know. I think that team could really, really blow it up if Kyrie just walks this offseason. I fully believe I don't think he loves in Dallas. I remember he was asked recently by a reporter if he loves Dallas, and he couldn't answer the question. So
No,
I
don't
think
tell.
I think he could very well be gone, especially with how this season's going. And I don't think he gives a crap about what that organization thinks about it.
Dallas has so much concrete. I don't know if I went to Dallas last summer for my sister's pageant. I've never seen so much concrete in one city. It's unbelievable. There's concrete everywhere. Everywhere. Sorry, that was random, but my mind couldn't get off the fact that there's like more concrete than there is cells, human cells. Like it's crazy.
One last thing. Sorry to prolong the topic. The Dallas Mavericks have taught us a very valuable lesson. And it's that sports is necessary. And it's that patience is everything when it comes to winning a championship. If they extend Jalen Brunson for the $100 million he wanted, they would be the team to come out the Western Conference right now. You'd have Jalen Brunson, who's giving you a lot more than Kyrie / empty number 2. You would have Spencer Dinwiddie still and Dorian Finney-Smith. What they lack is 2 rotation players, which DFS and Spencer Dinwiddie were. And you also have a guy in Kyrie who's a flight risk and is much older than Luka. Jalen Brunson's 1 year older. If they had Brunson, well, he wouldn't be the player he is right now at the Knicks because there'd be less opportunity. He still would have gotten better. We saw it last year. He took a huge step forward and was one of the more improved guards in the league. I think there's no other way of putting it. The Mavericks' biggest mistake was thinking they couldn't win Jalen Brunson as their number 2. And it turns out in New York, what's Jalen Brunson becoming? The perfect number 2 for a Knicks team that's 1 star away. A star like Luka Doncic, maybe that's the team that go after Luka. Maybe they'll give up RJ Barrett and that's the team. Luka Doncic.
I was literally about to say that.
Luka Doncic, it's happening.
It's
happening. Screw Zion. Sorry, Zion. All due respect. Hope you get well. Luka Doncic to the Knicks for RJ Barrett, 3 other first-round picks, 2 more first-rounders. If you really want him, we'll toss in Mitchell Robinson. You guys can give him a large offensive role that he wants, and then boom, you're perfect. You got 5 picks, RJ and Mitchell Robinson. Everything you need.
And additionally, KP. I mean, if they just waited an extra year for him to get his body back, he's been playing really good basketball this year. And Brunson, Luka, KP, Dorian Finney-Smith, that's a pretty good thing. I know it was funky at first, but I think that trio needed more time.
If they kept KP, I don't know if they make the conference finals last year.
I think their ceiling would be higher this year.
Was he a good enough fit, though?
Why wouldn't he be? He's such a good floor spacing big who doesn't need the ball extensively. That's what never made sense to me. Why didn't it fit?
Face-ups, which he was again.
Why didn't it fit great? Because he's not begging for a 38 usage. He's not begging to be some isolation high-level playmaker. He wants to have a 24 usage. He wants the ball, but considering the fact that he's not begging to operate some offense, it's crazy they didn't click. Part of it, I do think, was KP was dealing with injuries. So that was a part of it. He is looking better health-wise this year. We'll see how reliable that is, but what other option did Dallas have? So, but you mentioned it. New York is the spot for Luka. First of all, they're having an exceptional year. They're building off of what they did 2 years ago. Randall looks like a borderline All-NBA player. Brunson is playing like Isaiah Thomas did a few years back, right? They're playing exceptional. And you got so many draft picks. You got contracts with Barrett and Robinson. They can attach 8-9 first-round picks in a trade, plus those 2 in a Luka Doncic deal. Would any of us criticize that?
And you'd still have IQ, Quentin Grimes, and Josh Hart.
Yeah, that's the team. New York, off topic, that's a team that's going to be interesting waiting out for because there's always a superstar available. What if in some crazy world, just speculation, Harden, playoffs don't go well for Philly. Harden leaves for Houston. And then all of a sudden, Embiid's looking around at the room this room's kind of empty. Hi, Tyrese Maxey. And hi, Tobias Harris and PJ Tucker. And then he just says, okay, maybe it's not going to work out here. Joel Embiid. Or, by the way, Embiid and Randall as a front court would look hilarious. I have no clue why. It would be dynamic, but they kind of do the same things, good and bad, on offense. Embiid just a way better version. And But Luka would be like the dream, wouldn't it? If Kyrie left this summer, would he be surprised if Luka demanded a trade?
I wouldn't. I think it would happen by the trade deadline, probably.
9 first-round picks, Barrett and Robinson. Is that a bad package?
That or
Why
maybe
not?
Portland saving up to get Luka, one or the other.
Portland, stop. You guys have no assets, man. Stop with this nonsense. And additionally, like, off topic, the only way I think Portland ever wins a championship with Dame is if they just land the number 1 pick this year as an asset. As an
Yeah, that's
asset.
true.
Maybe you decide to keep Victor and he's ready with Dame. I'm not sure. Or that is immediately a top 5 asset in the NBA. Immediately. Number 1 pick this year. You could do so much with that. I'm just saying. All right, let's shift topics here. So we're going to end the show pretty fast. We got a couple more topics, definitely going longer than we expected. John, you ready for like another 15 minutes? 15, 20 minutes? Okay. March Madness topics. So who are some prospects in March Madness? This year's weird because 4 of the top 5 picks projected aren't in March Madness. When you're looking at Victor, Scoot, and the Thompson twins, and Cam Whitmore as well, he's not in March Madness. But who are some of the guys who really stand out to y'all? Zach, you let me know.
Well, I mean, we just saw it last night, and with Houston's big win to move on to the Sweet 16, I have Houston to win the national championship. I'm doing pretty good in March Madness, by the way. I'm second in my money league right now. I got Houston winning it, but he had like 6 blocks yesterday or something. I mean, I don't know what his offense is going to be at the NBA level. I think he's a really talented, like 6'8", massive dude who has a nice handle and can, stretch the floor. I think that's a nice, physical appearance to have with the talent he has. And I think he can be like a 15 plus per game scorer in basketball. But I think where his real strength is his versatility and what he can do on the defensive end. And he showed that against Auburn. Marcus Sasser for Houston looked good. He's a first round pick type guy. And then for Duke, Duke had an early exit, but I liked what I saw from Dariq Whitehead. I wish I got to see more of him. Kyle Filipowski in the ACC tournament mainly, and then he had some March Madness moments as well. He looks like a double-double machine in the NBA potentially. I think that guy is making a lottery talent type push.
Kelly Olynyk, that's who he reminds me of.
Yeah, and then you got like I'm not low. I'm not high on this player. I'm sure he's gonna get some draft hype because of it. I just saw some stuff on social media and how this should really boost his stock. But like Oscar Tshiebwe at Kentucky, he broke the March Madness record for rebounds. I'm not very high on the dude. He's a 6'8" center that doesn't move me on defense, and he's not going to rebound like that at the NBA level, and he can't stretch the floor. I don't know if I draft him in any round, but he's definitely somebody that I think stock probably moved up because of that, and I don't really agree with it fully. But
Is he like the ACC's Kenneth Faried?
Maybe kind of.
His rebounding is freakish. Like it's freakish. I disagree. I think his rebounding will be fine in the NBA, but I think it's the switchability stuff and the lack of offensive skill stuff. That's the main question.
Yeah, I don't know if you use a draft pick on that unless it's like the right team,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
Really badly needs rebounding. The Nets could take him.
Yeah, the Nets could use him.
And also, there's always one thing I always like kind of underestimate. Like a lot of the time, if you just have one elite skill in the NBA, there's at least a role for you. Like for Oscar, like I can see him being maybe it's not like a 20-minute per game guy, but like, a situational role player in the NBA because what he does is he rebounds the ball. And I don't care. Like we've had amazing 6'8" rebounders in the NBA. He can rebound. And I trust that. But yeah, there's a decent amount of guys who stand out. I think obviously the first one is Brandon Miller. Like Brandon Miller is probably going to be the 3rd pick. I think if Detroit wanted him and they had the 2nd pick, I would just trade back to 3. Like he feels like a really good 3rd pick, and he had a really horrid start to March Madness. He dropped 0 in his first game. Awful look.
He did get hurt though in that game.
Yeah, but he did drop 0 and he played 19 minutes. And He was 5 for 25 in the previous 2 games before that. He played better yesterday. He did play better yesterday. And I think Arkansas is a draft hub this year. I look at Anthony Black, who I really like. I don't
Locked
think
up
he's
Grady Dick.
He did. Even though I don't think what's his wingspan? I don't think he has much length.
I'll look it up.
He doesn't look like somebody who has much length on the defensive end, but he's got a really good feel. He plays hard, and he just got better throughout his freshman season. Jarace Walker, he's a really good player. I really like him. I do question sometimes because he doesn't have like the most fluid hips. Will he be as switchable in the NBA as he is in college? Do question that a little bit, but he's got a really good defensive feel. He's a good connective passer. He's got really good touch from his floater and finishing through contact. He's built like an explosive Julius Randle, Isaiah Stewart hybrid. It's really weird, really intriguing. And we talked about it before the show. Nick Smith Jr., I'm not very high on, simply because I don't value players who are specialized as scorers who don't pressure the rim. That just usually means microwave, low consistency. Granted, he has been dealing with injuries this year, but I don't trust that skill set necessarily. And, Grady Dick, I don't look much into the struggles in March Madness. He's not number one regardless, but he is super high energy. He can really hit shots off screens. Good defender, things of that nature. I like Cason Wallace a lot. I think for some reason we always underestimate Kentucky guards, and they always do better than people think. I think he's going to follow that. Chris Murray just got knocked out.
He's a different type of Kentucky guard, though. He
is, but he does have a lot of that. Like, he does have like a bigger Davion Mitchell thing to me. Like, he's gotta be my top right now. Like, he's 6'5", and he does a lot of the Davion Mitchell things. So that's intriguing. So there's a lot of guys. Didn't mention Derek Lively. I really like him. He reminds me of a modern Marcus Camby because he knows he doesn't do much on offense. Like, he can roll once in a while. He can hit a shot once in a while. But he is just coming in on the defensive end and just effing stuff up. He is just switching everywhere. He is going to alter every shot around the rim. He's a madman on defense, and that is super valuable. So there's a lot of guys to look at throughout the draft. And not a lot of guys in March Madness who will be at the top of this year's draft, but there are guys from top to bottom who are intriguing. I really like Ricky Council from Arkansas too. He's one of those guys, like, he passes the eye test for me, and I don't really know how to describe it. He just passes the eye test. Terrence Shannon Jr., high energy defender. I think he's been a late second round pick for like 4 years in a row. So there's a lot of guys to look at.
One player for me, we talked about, you alluded to him before the show, Jalen Hood-Schifino out of Indiana, Pittsburgh's very own. He's gotten in between game as a 6'6" combo guard. He's a freshman. His numbers haven't quite been there. Neither is the scoring efficiency. But when you get a young guard who's already developed, the in-between game can hit the three and has that touch to score inside the arc, that's the type of player who at the next level is a versatile offensive guy. He's not relying on pull-up shooting. He's not relying on games to the rim. He can do a little bit of everything. And so as a late lottery pick, look out for Hood-Schifino out of Indiana. I think his skills at 35 versus Purdue earlier, and I think it was March or late February, can translate very well at the next level, given he's 6'6", has a good quick first step, has really good feel, can manipulate defenders, good around screens. That, to me, is the ideal second or third guard at the next level.
One of my friends on Instagram, Hoop Journal, had him as his 4th prospect in the draft. So he really likes him. So, yeah, we'll see there. It's really intriguing for sure.
I like his game a lot, to be honest with you. I would take him before maybe it's a hot take. I'd take him before Nick Smith. Is that a hot take?
That's a crazy take. I think when you look at the NBA, players like Nick Smith have to be like really darn great to be really valuable. And that's the hard thing about it, because you got to be like flipping trans. Like, Jordan Poole is like the aspirational guy of that archetype, but Jordan Poole puts way more pressure on the rim than Nick Smith does. And is Jordan Poole a top 70 player in the NBA?
This year, no. But last year, yeah. Last year, top 50 probably.
I did my top 100 players on Twitter the other day. I think I had him 82. So, it's one of those archetypes. It's hard to pick apart. Like I'm taking the 3-and-D guy over that most days.
Are we missing
Okay.
anybody else? I feel like there's one prospect. Taylor Hendricks out of UCF. What do you guys think of
Hendricks,
this game?
yep.
I'm seeing some people put him in the top 10, the top 7. What do you guys think about his game? I haven't watched much of him.
I like him a lot. I think he's the closest player that I've talked about it already, and I'm a Timberwolves fan, so I've seen a lot of it already. But I think he's a similar Jaden McDaniels type. I think it's almost same frame. I think he's a little bigger than McDaniels was at the college level, and he's got a similar play style where he's a really nice shooter, but can't really create shots for himself and others at this point in his career. But on the defensive end, he can do like everything for you. He can protect the rim super well. He can guard the perimeter, and I think he could definitely be a lottery pick, and I think he could go as high, as maybe a top 10 pick to the right team if they really need that type of archetype, a 3-and-D type of defender that can do everything for you and that has upside to develop more offensively. So yeah, I think he's a really nice player.
He's in the NIT right now, so he's not playing in March Madness, but yeah, he's intriguing, man. I love lengthy and just like lengthy, quick defenders who can kind of go all over the place, and he's got a little bit of offensive stuff in him. I don't think he's quite as dynamic as Jaden naturally, but that is a similar comparison. Yeah, he's a guy I can see going lottery because that type of archetype tends to do well in the NBA, and Hendricks has been just exceptional, taking a big leap this year. So he is definitely somebody to look out for. Keontae George.
Oh, sorry. Real quick.
Keontae George is also really good. So
yeah, we forgot to mention him.
Do you guys think Keontae George has real star upside? Because I've seen people compare him to Bradley Beal and Malik Beasley. Is he somewhere in between? Is he close to one of those 2 points?
He's got more playmaking stuff than Beasley does, for sure.
Yeah.
And, it's an interesting case because on the right day when you watch him, he looks like an offensive juggernaut. And in other days, you see the lack of physical pop, and he struggles to create efficient shots, and he takes really bad shots. I think he's a tier 3 type of guy, like somebody I'd probably take at around the 10 spot, 8 to 10 spot, just because, I don't think he's naturally a great space creator. So his efficiency's taken a hit in college because he's the number 1 guy at Baylor. So, I think he's a really good prospect. I think as a tertiary guy, his efficiency will go way up in the NBA. So, but his connective playmaking stuff is way ahead of Beasley for sure. He can really pass in the pick and roll.
Yeah, my last big board that I did, it was a while ago though. I wouldn't have him this high, but I had him number 5, and I'd probably have him more like number 6 or 7 now. But he's just such a big time shot maker and creator, in my opinion. I think he can score on all 3 levels better than a Beasley can. Beasley's mainly just the 3-point shooter, but he's a legit secondary creator to me as well. I think he's going to have some insane moments as an off-ball shooter in the NBA. And he had pretty good statistical numbers when it came to finishing at the rim. Where I don't like the parts about him is, and I was so confused how Baylor allowed him to do this year. His shots like horrible, and I think his numbers would be a lot higher if his selection wasn't as bad as it is, because you watch him play and he's taking like these garbage 3-point shots multiple feet behind the 3-point line. Like, I don't know if he's prepping for the NBA or something. Which it's weird for me that a team as good as Baylor and as good as a coaching staff as I think Baylor has to allow him to do this. Maybe they think I don't know. I don't really get it, but if he finds a way to take better shots, and I think he's a nice defender. I don't think he's bad on that end. I think he can help you at the NBA level at some point, not right away, but at some point. I think he's closer to a top 5 prospect than he is to, somebody who's going to the back end of the lottery.
Yeah. Like I said, they need him to do that. And I think he struggles to create space. So he kind of has to take tough shots, which is why I don't look too much into his efficiency in college, because I think it will go up if he has another guy or two, like, to take pressure off of him long term. So he's really good. I'll tell you this about the draft this year. I feel really good about my top 5 guys right now. I don't really see that changing. I think Victor's 1. I think Scoot's 2. I think Miller's 3. And I'm just going to go back and forth between Amen Thompson and Cam Whitmore. Cam Whitmore, guys, oh my gosh.
Tough.
He's a talent. He's a talent, man.
His upside.
The closest thing to Anthony Edwards. The closest thing to Anthony Edwards.
I kind of compared him to Miles Bridges a little bit.
Oh, he's got way more on-ball creation stuff. Like a lot of his like side steps, step backs. I think the effortless like flick he does with his three-pointer. He's got an effortless jumper, and he just has a lot of on-ball stuff that's really intriguing. Like I said, I think he's a lot like Anthony Edwards. You know, we'll see probably a diet version because I don't think he has quite the first step pop Edwards does, but he's got the frame. He can finish through contact. He's got really good feet. He can create space with side steps, step backs. I think his jumper is going to get better and better in the NBA. He's good, man. I think he's a 2 and 3. He's listed as a power forward on Tankathon. I really think he's a 3 in the NBA. So he's interesting. There's an avenue for him to be the second best player in 2021 or 2023.
My comp for him would be like an Aaron Gordon, but with insane self-creation tools.
So if Aaron Gordon lived up to expectations.
Yeah.
Now, I compared him to Miles in terms of his physicals. They're identical. And also, real quick, hot take, but I think Brandon Miller is the clear number 2 prospect in this class. Scoot Henderson hasn't developed as a shooter. His playmaking leaves a lot to be desired.
His shooting's got better this year. 38% from 3.
38%?
Yeah.
Okay, maybe it was in one specific category at 27%. Okay, because mid-range game is there. Personally, I think Brandon Miller as a wing that can shoot at an elite level while having more and more on the ball. That could be Paul George, Jason Tatum. Like the pathway to him getting there is not going to take a whole lot of it's not going to surprise you if he becomes Paul George because of that skill set he's shown so early at Alabama.
Yeah, I think Brandon Miller's really good. I think he is easily the worst athlete of those 3. I'll say that. I think he doesn't have naturally as much muscle mass, and he doesn't have the same physical pop. So that is something to look out for. He's also going to be – he's an older rookie coming in next year. So he's a really old freshman. I think he's going to be 21 as a rookie. So he's definitely on the older side, and I don't think he has quite that pop, but he's really good. He's really good. He is comfortably number 3 for me. I think Scoot Henderson, he has a tenacity about him that I really buy into. And being he's 6'1" probably, but he's got a 6'10" wingspan. He's crazy explosive. His feel for the game is rapidly improving. I think his jumper is going to be fine. You know, I think I don't think he's a number 1 in most years like other people claim, but I think he is comfortably a number 2 guy.
Yeah, I think what really separates him for me is I believe in his ability to create for others as well. You know, he was a +6 assist guy for the G League Ignite. But with that G League Ignite team, I think Henderson would have looked a lot better if that team around him was better because that G League Ignite team sucks, and he's the only reason why that team won any games this year. It feels like. I mean, just when like he's collapsing to the rim. I mean when he's going to the rim. Every defender against G League Ignite is just collapsing on the dude because he has nobody around him, and I think that's what lowered Henderson's finishing numbers. Even though he was okay finishing the rim, I think it was like 62%. I think that would have been a lot higher if he didn't have all these guys attacking him all the time. But I really believe in him as, you know, a 20 game per guy scorer, and I think he's going to be one of the, you know, better assists per game type guys. And I think he's going to be a plus defender as well. Whereas Brandon Miller, I think he's like a really good number 2 second option that's going to average like 25 a game.
25 is
no, like at his peak-ish.
I think in the NBA, I think he's 22 a game. That's me. But
well, I think like career-wise, maybe 22, but like at his best, I think he's around like a 25-ish.
Okay. Hey guys, I think we're gonna have to skip straight to draft trivia because would you rather build around is a pretty aggressive topic. So I'm gonna go straight to draft trivia. So I'm your host, J.Wilder, doing draft trivia, and so Zach and John are both 0-0. I'm 1-0. I beat Charlie last week. And so how it works, John, is I'm going to ask the pick of a player, like what pick was this guy? And I'm going to give one of you guys the first choice. And if he gets it right away, he gets 1 point. But if he gets it wrong, and then I ask the second person the same question, that person gets 2 points. So it goes that way, first to 11 points. And I'll flip it. So I'll ask the first person, I'll ask first, and then the next question, I'll ask the next person first. So it works like that. I'll tally the scores right here. So
Awesome. Let's get into it.
Huh?
Sorry, I muted my mic. I said awesome. Let's get into it. Kind of excited
Sweet.
for this. I haven't done this.
Okay, John, I'm going to start out with you. So I'm going to start with the 2014 NBA draft. What pick was Yusuf Nurkic?
Yusuf Nurkic was the 19th overall pick.
Incorrect. Zach,
I think he's probably, I think it's like 27.
Both got it wrong. The answer is 16.
I was going to guess 17 next.
Next question, 2014. I'll go easier this time. A little easier, not too much easier. But, okay, Zach, what pick was Dario Saric?
9.
No.
Dario Saric was the... Oh, man. No. Okay, he's a lottery pick.
Mm-hmm.
This was 2014.
Yep.
76ers selected him with the pick they got from Jrue Holiday. The Pelicans in 2014. I'm torn between two different numbers here. Can I say them out loud? Am I permitted to do that? The two numbers I'm torn between are 7 and 11. Dario Saric, the 7th overall pick.
Incorrect. He was the 12th pick.
Oof.
So I'll go a little easier on this next one, okay? Next 2014 question. What pick was Dante Exum? John?
Dante was the 5th overall pick.
Yep. First
That
tally.
sounds
He's
good.
got 1 point. Okay, I'm going to do the 2018 NBA draft. Zach, what pick was Shai Gilgeous-Alexander?
Okay, yeah, obviously lottery. Oh my gosh, I think he was 6.
Nope.
He was the 12th overall pick.
Nope. He was 11. Oh, I messed that up. I got to start over. You guys. Okay. I forgot one part of this game, okay? You guys
we
get second tries. I forgot the second try part. So, Zach,
Yeah.
I'm a horrible host. So, essentially, we'll keep the scores what they are, okay? But the concept of it is you guys get second tries. So, the first person who was asked, now they can only get a half a point if they get it right the second try. And then if he gets it wrong again and the second person gets a second try, he gets 1 point. Forgot that part of it, too. We're all clear there?
All right. Yes, sir.
So, 2020, what pick was Devin Vassell? It's Zach's turn, I think.
I think I just went with Shai.
Oh, John.
Yeah, so it's
okay.
his.
Devin Vassell was the 11th overall pick.
Yep, 2-0.
I knew he was a back end lottery guy.
Okay, Zach, what pick was Peyton Pritchard?
All right, we're looking first round. Where would the Celtics have been? Like 22?
Nope.
Peyton Pritchard was selected with the 26th overall pick.
4-0.
Oh my gosh. I thought Tyrese Maxey was 26.
Okay, John.
Real
We'll
quick, what pick was Shai? I'm sorry, this is 9.
11.
No, it's
11.
11.
Okay, let me think of another guy. So, John, I'm asking you now, right? So,
Yeah.
what pick was Trey Lyles?
He was taking the spot before D-Buck. Trey Lyles was the 12th overall pick.
He's pretty good at this game, Zach.
I'm not good at this game.
Zach, I'll give you an easier one, okay? What pick was Onyeka Okongwu?
Okay. Yeah, that was. Oh, yeah, I'm probably not going to get it. He was. It's either 6 or 7, man. It has to be. And I'm going to go with 7. No.
Close. 7 was killing your days.
Oh, that's right.
I feel your pain because this happened to me with Nurkic.
You're like 7-0. It's a blowout.
I didn't say 6.
Oh, you didn't?
I did it, but I was gonna guess that. But yeah.
Okay, I'm not going to give you that. I'm such a horrible host. I thought you said 6.
Nah, it's all good. I said Killian was 7th, so.
Okay. I'm not going to give anybody a point there. I messed that up. I sincerely apologize. Okay.
He's bailing me out.
But the score is 5-0. My fault. I'm asking you now, John, right? I got you a harder one, okay? What pick was Seti Osman?
Said he was a second rounder, wasn't he? Said he was the 32nd pick.
No.
34.
No. You guys are in the ballpark.
Said he was the. Is it an odd number? Can you give us a hint?
It's an odd number.
31st pick.
Yep. So 5.5 points for John. First to 11, so you're halfway there. Okay. Zach, what pick was Kristaps Porzingis?
Oh, 4.
Yep, Zach's got a point.
Woo!
Congratulations, Zach.
Sorry, I don't watch draft highlights, James. Like you.
I had a pandemic phase where I only watched draft. I'm not kidding. Okay. Okay, John, what pick was Rudy Gobert?
Ha. Utah Jazz legend. Rudy was the 27th overall pick.
Yep, 6.5 points. Zach, I'm going to get you back into this game. What pick was Jaden McDaniels?
28.
There you go. Zach has 2 points. Okay, John. What pick was Herb Jones?
Ooh, I might know this one.
He was taken in the 30s. Herbert Jones was the 37th overall pick.
No.
I think it's 35.
Zach is coming back. That's 4 points. 6.5 to 4, and I messed up. Like, John probably should have 8.5. I messed that up. I'm sorry, John. I'm sincerely sorry.
Hey,
And
I'm not pulling a Cavs here. I'm not pulling a Cleveland Cavaliers comeback, sadly.
okay. John, what pick was Malik Beasley?
2017? 2018? All right, Malik Beasley was taken with the 22nd pick.
No.
I know what there's 2 picks that I'm deciding to because I know where he was at because I remember looking at this sometime. I think he was 13.
No.
I know the other one.
It was an even number, though. I know that.
Yeah.
Definitely an even number. I can tell. No?
What?
No.
It's not a number.
It's not even.
Shit. Okay, Malik Beasley was taken with the – but was I in the ballpark last time? You allowed to give me there or no?
Not going to say anything.
Okay. So Malik Beasley was taken with the 25th pick.
Nope.
I'm pretty confident he was a lottery pick. I'll go with 11 then.
No. Jesus Christmas.
What? What is he? 15?
He was 19.
What? I swear he was a lottery.
I knew
Okay.
that. Oh.
Zach, what pick was Pascal Siakam?
Oh, I'm not getting that. 8.
Way off.
Yeah, I wasn't getting that.
Pascal was taken in the 20s. Pascal Siakam was. I was actually looking at the draft yesterday and seeing like the best draft classes of the last decade. 2016 draft. Pascal was taken in the 20s. Oh man, I want to say the 27th pick.
Is that your final answer?
No. Pascal was taken with the 23rd pick.
No. Zach?
I don't know. It's probably in the 20s based off of that. Once you get like 2016 and back, I don't have a chance because I'm only 17 and I was like in 5th grade when that draft happened. So I'm gonna guess like 24.
No.
What I guess last time, 23?
I'm not saying anything.
No, okay. Yeah. Pascal was taken with the 27th overall pick.
Yes, he was. So you got 7.5 points, John. Zach has 4. Now, what pick, John, was Denzel Valentine?
Legend, 13.
No.
14.
Yes. Zach has 6 now, John. He is making a comeback. All right. We're going to go back to the 2021 NBA draft. Who's picking now? I lost track. I think it's Zach
I am.
now. Oh. Okay, Zach. What pick was Bones Highland?
Pretty sure he was a 2nd round guy. I think. Man. 41.
No.
Bones was taken in the 20s.
Oh, yeah.
Bones
thinking
was. Bones Highland was the 26th pick.
Yes, sir. 9.5 points. Great guess. 9.5 to 6. So we're in the ballpark. 1.5 points remaining, meaning one steal could give John the edge. All right. We go to 2019 NBA draft now. John has the pick. What pick? Okay, why is Google messing me up like this? 1 second. Just the suspense, the tension, it's rising.
Trying to ice me.
John, what pick was Brandon Clark?
It's a shame I don't know this. Brandon Clark, Summer League MVP, draft darling, was selected with the He was selected by the Memphis Grizzlies, who traded up with the Utah Jazz. No, they traded with the Utah Jazz, got a pick, they made another trade to go and get Brandon Clark with the 19th overall pick.
No. Zach? Chance
17.
to steal.
17.
No.
Brandon Clark was selected with the Is this number a
No, you're too close. I can't give any more hints. I gave some early. I can't give any more.
Brandon Clark was selected with the Oh man, how close was I though?
I don't know. I do know, but I'm just trying to mess with you.
Brandon Clark was selected with the 17th overall pick.
No. He already said that, I think, but
Yeah.
Jack.
I'll go 15.
No, he was 21.
21. I knew it was not a number. Damn.
All right, we're going to 2018 now.
I could lose here.
Zach. Trying to think what difficulty. I've been giving a lot of moderates to difficults. Zach, what pick was Kevin Knox?
Hmm. I feel like I should get this one. Go with 9.
Yep.
Oh, I thought it was 8.
7 and 9.5. It's not a blowout, Zach. You're in this game. You're still in this game. You just gotta
Gotta get a steal here.
Man, if that was 8, it was over.
Zach or John, what pick was Josh Okogie?
Josh Okogie was selected with the 23rd pick.
No.
20th.
9 to 9.5. What's your favorite team, John?
Nuggets.
What pick? Okay. Will be a good question. 9.5 to 9. So this is a close one. It's pretty special. Okay. What pick, John, was Christian Brown?
Christian Brown was the 21st overall pick.
Final verification. Yes, sir. 10.5 to 9.
Shoot.
Hey, Zach, what pick was Ty Washington?
I'm gonna go with. Okay, I did so much content on that draft last year, and I have to go back in my memory and remember because it was before the Timberwolves pick, before they traded back with the Grizzlies. It was before 19, and I'm gonna guess it was 17.
No.
So this is an interesting fact. The Rockets got the 26th pick from the Mavericks for Christian Wood. They then moved back to 29 to take that time.
That's right. Right?
Ding, ding, ding. Great memory. And John is
Zach, you climbed right there. I thought you were going to make me choke, I'll be honest with you, champ.
Yeah. James, you're muted, by the way. But yeah, what did the Rockets do with their pick? Did they not select at 17 or 18?
They took Tari.
Oh my god, dude, I'm so stupid. Yeah, of course I took Tari. That was my draft crush. What in the world? I'm so dumb.
12.5 to 9. So, hey, John, I think we're going to categorize you like your personal records 1-0, guest records 1-1. I'm 1-0, and Zach is 0-1. So
wait, my guest record's 1-1?
No, the guest record, like the guests on the show.
Oh, no.
It's 1-1, but your personal record's 1-0. So you and I are both 1-0. Zach next week will be hosting it, and it's going to be very fun. So someone will be competing with me.
I like that game a lot.
I'm a lot like, I'm Kobe in that game. So throw a random player at me. I want to see if I can do it, Zach. Test me.
Yeah, I can't even think of a random player.
I've got you.
Yeah, you go with him.
All right. This is a player I thought you were going to give me when you gave me the whatever draft Brian Clark is in. What pick was Kevin Porter Jr.?
30.
Well done.
Jaren Jackson Jr.
Huh?
Jaren Jackson Jr.
4.
What selection was Tyler Hero?
13.
I just look up a random NBA player generator.
My dad says I should probably talk to some females instead of memorize draft picks, but nah. Draft picks.
Are we live?
Huh?
Are we live? Is he watching us live or something?
No, it's not live, but
wow. I was gonna say that'd be cool.
What about John Wall?
First.
Oh yeah, it's a stupid answer. I mean, stupid number.
Okay, I've got you with what pick was Jamal Murray?
7.
Dorian Finney-Smith.
He was undrafted.
Good. Let me give you one more. Let me actually give you something that's a little bit challenging. Because, I mean, clearly these are pretty easy for you.
Patrick Beverly.
He was 42nd.
Yep.
Oh, my God. What pick was John Collins?
19.
Dude. Oh, my God.
Now, this dude, he spent so much time. I literally went to his house like a year ago, and he had draft highlights on. Like,
okay. So,
and he was telling me like how one player like 20 years ago, I can't remember, but like looked like somebody else in a new gen era. I don't know, but yeah, he's obsessed with that. He's just,
I had a pandemic draft phase. I'm not lying. I had a pandemic draft phase, and all I had on in the background was like, it was like, I don't know, whatever draft was on. Like it became like I watched so many that they would just like pop up randomly. So it'd be like, ooh, 1997 draft, ooh, 2004 draft, stuff like
I've got
that.
one more for you then. You're a Timberwolves fan. What pick was Tyus Jones?
24.
Oh, God. Yeah.
that's just crazy. That's just,
That's a
That's
fun
on
game.
fire.
Clint Capella.
25.
I'm trying to
we
confirm. You're beating me. Like I can't even look it up by the time you get it out.
We got to find somebody that can beat or compete with James.
Well, Charlie did good last week. I think it was like 11-7.
Yeah, I think it was.
No, it's a fun game. It's fun because Zach asked really hard questions last week. I kept getting in the
Yeah.
like in the
Yeah, I think it's
stratosphere.
I think it was probably closer because I was asking like a bunch of second round ones. Like I wasn't touching a lot of lottery guys very often because whenever I asked the lottery pick, you got like boom.
It's a really it's a fun game, but like it makes me realize how little of a life I had during the pandemic. You know, like what were you guys doing in the pandemic? If you're not studying drafts, like what else are you doing?
I was playing Fallout 4.
I was building up my Timberwolves stuff. That's like literally I did all day.
Denny Avdia agendas were kind of crazy.
Those were flying.
I didn't start my YouTube content until then because there's no sports to talk about. So I just played Xbox in this room.
Yeah, that was the first draft I started really watching because that's when I got my draft writing gig with League Alerts. So I did so much.
You've done work with League Alerts? Alerts. That's tough. I've been following them for like 5 years probably.
If you saw, like I stopped doing it last year, but if you see some of their like 2020, 2021, 2022 stuff, that was me.
Yeah, you did like all the draft content. I did the Wolves there for like a few months, but then it all like died.
I picked Scotty Barnes to Toronto. I consistently kept mocking him to 4. That's my proudest League Alerts accomplishment.
I remember
I consistently mocked him 4 over Jalen Suggs.
I remember you wanted to put a bet in Vegas on Barnes going 4, but you didn't do it.
No, my dad and I missed the time slot.
Oh.
So
what pick was one Bruce of those? Brown?
Huh?
What pick was Bruce Brown?
Bruce Brown. That's a good question. 43.
Oh, I got you. It's 42.
Jeez.
I thought you had it.
Get off the show, James.
Yeah, I'm not fit for this, guys.
Daron Sharp.
Who?
Daron Sharp. You got
25.
29. Yeah.
Daron Sharp went 29?
Yep.
I thought he went because I know Cam Thomas went 27 that year. I thought Brooklyn has Ish Smith. Gosh, we talked about this. He was second round.
Undrafted.
Dang it. No, that's got him. See, look, you guys got me in that slump now. I'm gonna slump. Those are hard ones.
Slump.
Who?
Slow-mo.
He was 40s as well.
40s. Who was the pick you've said before?
43.
30.
He went 30.
Yep.
I didn't know he went first round. Huh?
Yeah, he went first round in 2014. Derek White.
I can get like draft stuff. I can get like a 75% rate. You guys got me in like the easy ones. So like those are automatic, but like
Derek what?
Derek White, my gosh, he was 24.
29.
Dang! See,
I'm breaking-
look,
I'm- now we got enemy.
I was on a Linsanity run, dude. I was on a Linsanity run. That's all it was. It was a Linsanity run. So no,
Miles Turner.
Miles Turner, that's easy. He was 11. Nah, like, dude, it's a funny game because I don't think anybody can get an 80% correction rate on. I think it's impossible to get 80% unless you're a weirdo. So,
Yeah.
all right, guys. Well, this show was way longer than I expected. Way longer, but it was enjoyable. That draft pick trivia. You guys we're gonna keep that going. So now we're looking at the standings. I'm 1-0. John's 1-0. Zach is 0-1. Charlie, last week's guest, was 0-1. We'll keep going with that. And anything you guys want to say before the show ends?
Nuggets are winning the championship this season.
I just want to shout out my March Madness bracket and the teams. Kansas State just beat Kentucky. I'm officially first in my money league, so feeling pretty good about that. Thank you to all my teams and the boys that are playing for me. I appreciate you guys, and take me to the prized land, please.
I just want to have a quick shout out and say, how dare you to Arizona State University? I had them beating TCU. They were up 37 minutes of that game, and they just lost it last second. They just lost it last second. Complete choke, missed both free throws, forced dumb threes. They ruined my bracket. I was on the uptick, and that moved me down 3 spots because of how close it was. How dare you, Arizona State? It's like I can leave Minnesota, but I can't get Minnesota out of me. It's the worst. So
I understand that. Shout out to FDU. They ruined my bracket, and I couldn't be happier. Fairleigh Dickinson Knights, man. Oh, smallest team in Division I. Doesn't matter. However hype, baby.
my mom's friend was in the final, got like the first 16 games right, like almost the entire first round right. It was in the final 0.0017% because her 3-year-old picked every team based on which jersey her son thought was cooler.
Wow.
And got the first 16 games right. So shout out to that. But thank you guys, everybody, so much for being a part of the show, listening, and we'll see you next week.